stop telling myself that the way I look is the reason I'm not successful, that my natural hair is keeping me from getting jobs, because these are all these lies I was telling myself. And we name it, with her, you name it. So that voice for me is Doretha. And so whenever Doretha comes in and she starts telling me, I'm like, Doretha, you better step back. And so what I learned through changing my mindset was that I was enough. And I always say this, is that your uniqueness is what's going to lead you to your greatness, because it's what you being uniquely yourself is what helps you to be successful in whatever area you're working in. It's because of you that you bring. And so I put that into my acting. It's because of me. Because nobody else can be like Arischa. Nobody else has the same experience as Arischa. So when I book a job, it's because of Arischa. I'm playing a character, but no, I'm Arischa.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm JP.
Hey, I'm Kara.
Hey, I'm Joanes.
Today's guest is an educator turned rising TV star who wishes to share her talents with the rest of the world, serving as living proof that age does not define success. As a singer and actor, she is best known for her role in the award-winning Hulu series Dope Sick. Aside from her start as a local theater performer, she taught science and tech across South Carolina for over 20 years while holding tight to her dreams, which have ultimately become a reality. Let's welcome die-hard Guardians of the Galaxy fan, Arischa Khanna.
Hello.
Word. You
Die
are here.
hard.
We wish.
Die hard. Yes.
We wish you were here physically with us, Arischa. But sending you a virtual what's up, virtual hug, virtual all that good stuff. Before let's go back. When you look at your childhood, where did this passion, this love for performing start?
Wow, that's a good question. When I was younger, it was my dad raised me and my sister by himself for a number of years after my parents separated. And so I used to get joy out of making my father laugh. So I remember my sister and I, we would just do all this stuff and I, put on shows and, just to make my dad laugh and just for us to have a good time. We were just so tight-knit when it was the three of us. And we were living in Nashville, Tennessee. And my dad would take us and expose us to so many different artistic ventures. We lived in the Fisk Faculty Apartments, which was not too far from Fisk University. And so when my sister and I were little, we were actually part of an opera in conjunction with Fisk University as kids.
Oh, wow.
My dad used to just keep us involved with so many different things. So
yeah, that's not the normal. That's not. So it was like injected in you from
jump.
From jump.
Yeah. I guess because we just did so much. We did so much together. So yeah, I think that's where my love of, especially seeing him laugh and just having fun with my sister and us enjoying just the three of us at those points, just us three. I'm throwing that out because that's a line from that song. But, just in those moments and in Nashville, because Nashville was just, loved it.
And which I'm just curious, which song is that?
There was a song I did called Dee Dee's Lament, right? And in one of the lines in the song is, I say, just us three. And I was talking about me, my dad, and my sister. Don't get me emotional up in here now. Okay.
Too early for that? Too early for that.
No. It's just interesting because I didn't. You mentioned that you were raised with your dad, and so that's. I'm curious to know when you guys were performing. What were you? Do you remember the first things that you guys did? Were you like holding the broom? Were you like, like what were those?
What was your first performance?
What was your first performance?
My first performance is silly, but what I would do is I would just laugh and just laugh until everyone was laughing. That was just like my thing. It was so silly, but I would just laugh, and then everybody would start laughing. Yeah. So,
are you enjoying the conversation? Please like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom to share? We'd love to hear from you on the nuggets you've learned. Please comment below.
It's a note on human nature. Where at first we're like, what the heck is going on? And then now we want to laugh.
Yeah, everybody would be laughing.
So, Arischa, I didn't say this before, but just so you know who's talking with you too, I am in the very classroom that you left, actually. Okay. I'm in my 19th year of teaching, and so I come to you, thank you. I come to you with that mindset of being an educator, and I always talk about, childhood development and that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm super impressed by your entire resume, and I'm hearing a ton of elements of education and teaching, and there's some performance in teaching also.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. How does your education and your performance, like how do those things hold hands for you?
I would say that what it did for me the most, because I used to, when I went to college, when I was in high school, I was always performing. Like I was in a pageant. I was Miss Hal Jackson's talented teen. I know that was something that was in New York for WBLS radio. Mm-hmm. And the pageant I was in was at the Apollo Theater so long ago. But I took all of those things with me in my classroom because I know a lot of times there's teachers who believe, we're not putting on a show for the kids, but I used to keep my kids interested. Everybody wanted to be in my classroom. I had a stage in my classroom. I had a wireless microphone in my classroom. I played music. I had lights. I had, it was because I wanted to make it a warm environment for the students. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to be comfortable with speaking to their fellow peers. That's why I had my little stage, because they would come up and they would step on the stage whenever they had to speak or present. And I wanted them to, when they walked through my door, I just wanted them to feel all of the love. You know what I mean? I wanted them to feel like they were in a safe space to be able to make mistakes, talk to me. And I think that my performance allowed me to be able to give all of that to the kids. I gave them everything that I could. And I took them on the journey with me as well, because in my last years of teaching, I was acting. My kids would read for me. They would hold up poster paper behind me so that I would have a backdrop.
That's amazing.
It was a full production.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
There were some terrible auditions, but they were some great times.
It seemed like you made the classroom into a community
for
your performance, right? So how was that experience, right? So were you going on acting, you were going on auditions, and how involved were they in what you were experiencing, and how did you incorporate them in that journey?
My students were very involved. I was very transparent with them. They knew that I loved singing. I used to sing to them all the time. I used to have, what is it called? There was a video that plays on YouTube, and it plays lo-fi music all day. Anyway, if it was time for them to come in, I'd be, come and bring your homework. You didn't do your work, sit down. I mean, I'd be making those songs all the time, they were used to it. And sometimes I would pass the mic because they loved holding my microphone. And it took them a while, to be able to even have the right to have my microphone. And they knew that I was acting. They knew my life. I told them my life. Y'all, listen, because I went to Hampton University. I went to Claflin University. When I went to Hampton, I was academically dismissed. And then I went to Claflin. It took me 10 years to get my bachelor's degree. And I shared that story with my students because I tell them, I know that I've had like all these failures in my life, but look where I am now. I'm here sharing myself with you. So it doesn't matter whatever it is you want to do. Don't stop, just keep going. And so when I would do my auditions, I would bring my auditions to class. They would help me. And what's that doing for them? It was helping them with reading. It's helping them with comprehension. All of these life experiences help them and help to build them. Yeah, they were always fully encompassed in everything I was doing. And like I said, they were terrible auditions.
And when did that start? Like, when did you? I would imagine as a teacher, you're expected to already have arrived, right? Because you're this role model, right? But it seems like you brought your authenticity into the classroom, and you brought your, just the realness. Was that always okay with you, or is that something you discovered that it became okay for you to share that I haven't arrived yet? I may be a teacher, but I'm working on myself too.
I'll tell you, when I first started teaching, I had no idea what I was doing. And I got into the technology realm. I got my master's in EDS and technology. And then I began doing training for teachers, helping them to integrate technology in their classroom to engage their students. And through doing that and being in so many different classrooms and seeing so many different teachers interact with their students, it taught me something. It showed me what I need to be doing in order to get the attention of the students, to make sure the students know they were loved. Like when I first started teaching, because my grandparents were educators, and I lived with my grandparents for a time when my dad was in medical school. And they would always say, you have to love your students. And I didn't understand that when I first started teaching. I really didn't. I was like, I don't love these kids. These kids bad. But when I was doing training, and I was on the outside looking in, I really understood that, love is big. Love comes in different forms and different passions. Love is so many different things. So I can love these kids without even knowing them. And I remember, y'all, oh my God, I could talk all day. There was a student I had, and the first day of school, he was not listening to me. And he was walking around in circles. I was like, what's wrong with this boy? And he walked out, but I said, I followed him out, and I told him, I said, I love you. I said, I know you don't know me, and I don't know you, but I already love you. And it made me emotional, but you are going to be successful. And this was an 8th grade student, and he looked at me. He had tears in his eyes. And I found out what his story was later. And I loved him. I loved them all. And when he graduated from 8th grade, that was a moment for me, because I know it was a joy for him, coming from the circumstances that he came from. So
as I said, I'm still in the classroom, and all the things you're saying, you're hitting on so many moments that I'm just like, me too. I want to send that to you. Honestly, I send that your way.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I'm good. It's Willie. Willie was my student. He was that student. I mean, he's still around somewhere. I don't know where he is. I wish I could find him.
Do you have an audio podcast? Are you looking to grow your audience by expanding into video? Partner with Prosper Digital TV, a virtual and full-service video production company with a dedicated team ready to expand your podcast into video. Visit www.prosperdigital.tv or call 718-622-0062 to get started today.
How did you feel about including your students in your journey, like through the classroom and then out of it as well?
Well, when I was teaching, I was very transparent with my students about, my life, about the things that happened to me in my life, like when my sister passed, me being academically dismissed from college. I told them everything. I wanted them to see that even as their teacher, I've been through situations that were adverse for me. And if you're going through adverse situations yourself, you can come out of that on a positive note. I know they supported me. And I wanted them to know that I supported them too. I used to go to the games. I used to be the loudest cheerleader at the games. I used to make signs for the games and hold the signs up. I'd be calling their names and they, cover their faces, but I know they loved it. I was just the hype woman. I like talking about teaching and my experience. That's why, earlier when I was like, I should write a memoir, because, a lot of time teachers don't feel supported and they need that. And I loved that I was able to do that as well. You know what? We're all big kids. We're all big kids. And those needs that we have as children, they're the same needs that we have as adults. We're just big kids.
It's great that you say that, because I think the teachers, to what JP was saying, that crosses to us the most are those that we feel like we're humanized and we matter. And it seems like you're a big kid at heart. How were you able to grow up but not grow up?
That's a question I should ask my friends. Because I've always been mischievous. I've always, and one thing that I always did is I always used to sing, like, constantly. There's a song for everything. And as I was growing up, my father did not allow us to listen to like hip hop music. So I don't know. I all that hip hop phase, it passed right over me.
Wow.
I could think about Carly Simon and Billy Joel, because all we could listen to was your urban contemporary. But I used to sing to myself constantly. People used to think I was crazy because I'd be walking in the parking lot singing a song. My lips would be moving. And I really honestly think music is a part of what kept me so young and at heart. It's just the music. I would listen to so many different songs and so many different situations and just be lost in the music. I don't know. Somehow I think music has a lot to do with me staying young at heart. I do.
You have an amazing journey when it comes to music, because you actually started with jazz. You were in a jazz group. Did you work with Teddy Riley? Audition? Like what was that?
When I went to Hampton University. I was a Marching Pirate. Go Marching Pirates! And while I was there, I started singing with a local jazz saxophonist. His name was Philippe Fields. So I was singing with him around different places, singing jazz. That was my first introduction to jazz, because I remember singing When I Fall in Love, and somebody was like, "Baby, you really sang that song, but when you go through something, you're gonna sing that song different." And they were right. Saying that, when you go through stuff, you sing songs differently. Yeah. And so I formed a group. I was in a group called Special Request, because there were these guys. They were from Darlington, South Carolina, and one was in the military and the other moved up to the Hampton Roads area. We created a group called Special Request. Mm-hmm. And Teddy Riley had a talent show. He had a record label at the time called Love of Riley Records, LOR Records. We did a song and we won the talent show. They offered us a record contract. Well, what happened was they offered me a record contract. And I turned it down because I was like, no, we're a group. We come together. And then another record company that was there offered us a record contract. And that was when my dad was like, hey, yeah, that's great. Why don't you come home? I'm going to let my lawyers look over the contracts. And I went home. My dad was like, oh, no, you're not going back, because I sent you up there to get an education. I didn't send you up there to sing anime. So I did not go back up.
So real quick, Arischa, take us through how you navigated maybe the changes in the pursuit of the dreams you've had from high school into college at Hampton, and how you navigated that.
Well, I know when I was younger, into high school, middle school, college, my dream was always to be a singer. I wanted to be a singer. I was like, I'm going to be the female Al Jarreau. That was my goal. I wanted to be the female Al Jarreau. Met him, by the way, which was awesome. When I was in education, we had a faculty choir, and the director of the choir, his name was Walter Graham. He was like, hey, we're doing a play at our local theater. and it was Smokey Joe's Cafe. And I was like, okay, I like to sing. I'll come and audition. So I went and auditioned, and I got a part in the play. And I absolutely loved it. And I had been in plays before. I was in Mama, I Want to Sing when I was in college. I was Doris Winter. Awesome. This was a different experience for me. When I was on stage and we had sold out shows, every show was sold out. I remember the last day of the show, we're holding hands and we're doing our bows. And I was in tears. I was like, because I loved it. I think I love the applause. I'm not gonna lie. But I also love that people loved it so much. And so that's when I started saying, that's when a shift happened for me. I loved this being on the stage and this joy. I just love joy.
I didn't know. It started out first with your passion for singing.
Yes.
Then you were singing in a musical,
yes.
Right? Well, and from there, Smokey Joe Cafe is a combination.
Yeah.
But once you had that singing part, then you discovered, wow, okay, there's more to this that I'm drawn to.
Yes.
And where did you go from there? Like once you discovered, you had this moment of like, okay, this acting thing is something that is another avenue that I could be exploring my voice and my talent and my passion. Where did it go from there?
There was a girl in the production, Katrina, and she was like, hey, I work with this local production company called Wow Productions, and they're doing a play. The person who wrote the play was in the audience. She wants you to come and audition for the play. And I was like, okay, I'd never done like a play because there was no singing, nothing like that. So I auditioned for the play, took my daughter with me because they had a role for a teenage girl. And my daughter booked the role in the play, and I was an understudy for a role in the play as well. Well, there were two of us. We were both understudies because they still hadn't made up their mind. And when they finally made up their mind, the other woman got like 3 shows out of 4, and I got 1 show, which was cool. But I enjoyed that. But the thing, they were filming for the first time because they were just experiencing these things for the first time. And the night that they shot the show that I did was the best technically for them. So they used that, and now you can find that show. It was distributed through Maverick Movies, so it's like it's on YouTube. You could buy it in the stores. You could buy it at Target, Walmart, and I was like, ooh, that. And then it was just like, I want to learn more. I want to do more of this acting. And there were some people who were in this production company who were actors, who had agents, they had headshots, they had all this stuff. And so I started studying them. I was taking notes. Okay, so they have headshots. This is what they look like. Okay, I'm going to give me some headshots. They got an agent. So I went on, I went to YouTube University asking questions.
And were you teaching at that time when that was happening? So when you discovered that, this acting thing, you were already a teacher.
I was teaching, yes. This was late. This was way later on. But at the time, that's when I was doing training. And what happened was my department was closed, and we could stay on the district level, reapply for our jobs, or go back in the classroom. I was like, I'm going back in the classroom because I got some stuff I got to give these kids. I had some, because I had learned so much from being a trainer. I was like, I got to give them some of this wonderfulness. And so at that point I was teaching myself. I did everything in reverse. Like if you go to acting class, they say, no, don't do it like that. But that's how I did it. Y'all, my first headshot was so funny. I had my big afro, I had on these big earrings, my head's tilted to the side.
Who took that first headshot? I'm curious.
It was a photographer who was just learning about photography.
That's what it got.
And they were
y'all both in the same space.
Hey, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Yes. And you should see their headshots now. Beautiful. So, we've all grown together.
What's amazing, it seems like, you never stop. It's interestingly, you were aware of this thing that you want to impart, this like your journey is not, what made you want to not separate yourself from, let me go pursue my dream now, but that I want to continue to share my gifts with the youth that you were teaching? Where did that, what did that mindset come from?
Well, I had told myself when I was working on the district level, I knew I wanted to take a year off because it was embedded in my head, to take a year off. And then they closed our department and they said, you know, you can go back in the classroom. I was like, ooh, I'm going to go back in the classroom. So when I was back in the classroom, you know, like I said, I was transparent with them. They knew I was an actor. They were helping me with my auditions and everything. And I remember a student asked me, because I used to tell them, follow your dreams, you do whatever you want to do if you work hard. And one of the students asked me, well, Miss Fry, you want to be an actress? Why don't you pursue acting? And I was like, you know what? You're right. And so I decided to take a year off. I said, okay, I'm going to take a year off before I turn 50. So I don't have to look back over my life and say, if I coulda, shoulda, woulda, like Lou Rawls sang in the song. I said, I'm going to take a year off and I'm going to pursue this full time and see what happens. And I had the support of my husband. He's a great support. He said, okay, baby, you got 1 year. So I took the year off and I decided I was going to be a living lesson for them.
Yeah.
If I was successful, they could see Miss Fry said, she said she was going to do it, she did it.
Yeah.
You know, she worked hard, she did it, we can do it too. That's what I wanted it to be. And if I didn't succeed in that, I could go back, I would still be a living lesson for them. You guys, I went out and I did this. I had some successes.
Are you enjoying the conversation? Please like and subscribe to our channel. Be sure to hit the bell for notifications and be the first to know when new episodes drop. Do you have any nuggets of wisdom to share? We'd love to hear from you on the nuggets you've learned. Please comment below.
I definitely didn't consider taking off work while she was in school. So while she was in high school and she was in college, it wasn't a thought on my mind because I wanted a consistent check coming in the house. You know, I had to pay for college. You know, I had to make sure she was taken care of. But when she graduated from college, I was like, okay, you know, let's see what happens in this next stage of my life. You know,
Felt that burden lift up a little.
What? I don't want to say burden. It wasn't a burden. It was just. It was just. I mean, as far as your responsibilities, you know, you know, you had to just stay with something that, like you said, was consistent, as opposed to, we all know, if you're an actor, things can get real difficult, right? Right.
So that thought must have been going through your head, like, okay,
definitely.
Yeah.
She's still in my pockets now. That don't ever change. That doesn't ever change.
Not the pause.
Yeah, because it is consistent. It's a consistent check coming in. I know that I'm getting this amount monthly, and I know I can pay my bills. Because with acting, it's not like that. Acting is like contract work, and if you get work, you get paid. If you're not working, you know, you're not getting paid. So yeah, you're right though. That definitely was a part of all of my decisions, whatever decisions I made.
I gotta say too, I guess along the lines of what you were saying just now with JP, Arischa, the fact that you, how do I say, prioritize yourself in your journey to get where you are. Because I think that from what I've heard, I'm not a parent. I just have my fur baby here. But from what I've heard, a lot of times parents will say, I really wanted to do this, but I'm so busy being a parent and focusing on my child. And acting as a parent to my students, sometimes I get so carried away with what they're doing, I might miss lunch or have to realize I didn't even go to the bathroom all day, you know?
Yeah.
So I admire the way you still did both and still address your needs and your dreams. And at the same time, empowered your students and your daughter in the process. I think that is so dope. I'm super, super excited. And I mean, if you can't tell, I admire you, and I will just say it again and again so you really, really get it. I really have a ton of admiration for you and your journey. Yeah. And now you get to be your singing, performing, dancing, joyful self in the ways that you've built.
And that's important, what you just said, like, never lose sight of you when you're taking care of other people. Because when you lose sight of yourself, sometimes people can be so lost in their jobs and not aware of the things that are happening around them, and then they lose themselves and forget what makes them happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if you forget what makes you happy or forget what fills your cup, people feel like they're not living a full life, when in fact you can. You fill your cup up. Keep your cup full. Take care of
preaching.
yourself,
And I'm not a teacher, but I would imagine, as Kara's a teacher, as you are, Arischa, that that's mindset is not like easily cultivated, because you're immediately in that position of giving, right? And you are held to a certain standard of keeping things together. What were your biggest hurdles? What were your toughest times that you had to overcome to maintain that passion, to maintain that interest, and that belief that you're never going to give up?
First, I just want to say something about mindset. That was a big turning point for me when I sought out, I had a mindset coach, Christine Horn, and that made all the difference in the world for me in terms of my acting, in terms of how I saw myself, where I saw myself. But throughout, we all have struggles. When I, as a single parent, I was in college.
Mm-hmm.
I was a single parent.
Mm.
I was working 3 jobs.
Wow.
There were nights, I had a friend who lived right up the street from me. I was not living in the nicest place. And she was cooking dinner, and she would call me and be like, hey, you want to come over for dinner?
Mm.
And if we just pay attention, it's like everything that we need is right there in front of us if we open our eyes and allow ourselves to accept it. And that's in every aspect. It's in every job, in every avenue, in every place. Sometimes it will come right to us. I open myself up. My friend said, come over and eat. I'm like, we going over to eat. I say, hey, I want you to go to the store. I just got my card. Because, in college, you used to get EBT cards. I got my EBT card. You need something? Yes. Yeah. Let's go. I didn't close myself off. And I didn't realize it at that time and now in my life, I realize that everything that we need is around us. I don't need your help. I don't need this. Yeah, you do. You have to check yourself. And like I said, mindset, work on your mind. You got to check yourself.
And when did you know you needed a mindset coach? And can you explain?
Yeah.
Not just share, like 3 jobs, single mom, teacher.
I'll tell you, when I realized it is when I was acting, I was not getting booked by the nose. And I was taking the nose personally. It was like, I'm hearing no because I'm kind of, I'm not skinny. I'm hearing no because I don't have the Hollywood looks. I don't look like Halle Berry. That's why I'm hearing no.
You heard
and
words.
It was like I was so negative. I realized it. I think I went to a class and one of the coaches was like, you can't take a no from not getting a job. You can't take that personally because there's enough out there, for everybody. And I was like, what? There's not enough. So I realized in that negative headspace where I was like, something's got to change. And I started following Christine Horn, and she was just so happy. I'm like, why is she so happy all the time? Because I was happy sometimes. I was like, she's so. And then I started listening to her and telling myself, stop telling myself things that I can't do, that the way I look is the reason I'm not successful, that my natural hair is keeping me from getting jobs, because these were all these lies I was telling myself. And she helped me to see that. And we name it, with her, you name it. So my that voice for me is Doretha. And so whenever Doretha comes in and she starts telling me, I'm like, Doretha? You better step back. And so what I learned through changing my mindset was that I was enough. And I always say this, is that your uniqueness is what's going to lead you to your greatness, because it's what you being uniquely yourself is what helps you to be successful in whatever area you're working in. It's because of you that you bring. And so I put that into my acting. It's because of me, because nobody else can be like Arischa. Nobody else has the same experience as Arischa. So when I book a job, it's because of Arischa. I'm playing a character, but no, I'm Arischa. That mindset was it was a game changer for me.
And do you take that into the process of choosing roles, to keep that authenticity flowing?
I do, because let me tell you, and this is my Dope Sick story. When I auditioned for Dope Sick, I had auditioned a couple times. My first audition, I had makeup on my face, I put on a wig, and I did my audition, which was, it's all right. And the casting director contacted me and said, "Hey, I want to have a one-on-one with you." And she said, "No, strip down, just be you." And so when I did my next audition, I didn't have on any makeup. I had my hair, my natural hair, in an afro, and I did my audition just stripped down, because at that point I was okay being just being. I'm all right not having makeup in front of camera. That means nothing to me, because I'm all right with myself. I got to the point where I know that I had done my mindset stuff, so I knew that me being me is all right. And I'm okay with it. So I stripped everything down, and I was just me talking, and I booked that role because I was being me. And so now when I do auditions, y'all, I do my auditions with my hair. I don't wear wigs. Every now and then I might put on some lipstick. It depends on what the role is, but I just know to be authentically me. If I don't book a role and I'm watching it, I see the person, it's because there's something about them that was special for that role. It just wasn't for me, and it's okay.
Speaking of which, take us through one or two of your most memorable roles that have impacted you the most.
I loved doing the role in Dope Sick because I did a documentary theater piece called Misery is Optional, where we talked about 40 people who are in active recovery from drugs and alcohol. They did interviews with people. We just said their words, so we reenacted what happened in their lives through saying their words. So in that particular piece, I played 8 different people, and I told their stories of being addicted and going through recovery. And the great thing about it was I got to meet those people, and they were they were just so elated that their voices were being heard. And that became important to me, telling stories of people who feel like their voices aren't heard. That's why Dope Sick was so important to me, because we're telling the stories of all these people who felt like their stories weren't heard, their pain wasn't seen. And, I was a part of bringing that to screen. Even with Swagger, I played a street preacher. I wasn't on camera that much, but what drove her was she felt like she was trying to save her community and trying to warn them that something is coming. I love being a part of telling the stories of people who feel like they're not being heard. And also inspirational. Like, that's why I say Guardians of the Galaxy, because it makes me laugh. When I go to...
You took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Because when I see Guardians of the Galaxy, I love the music, number one, because that's the music I grew up on. It's just feel good.
Did it make you get a Walkman?
Aw.
I had the yellow one. That's what I used to listen to New Edition. A little yellow Walkman. And that's why I love it so much, because it's just it makes me feel good. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to get into acting, because when I go to the movies for a moment, it's like whatever is happening in your life, the bad things, things that are stressing you out. When you go to the movies and you're like so into a movie because it just pulls you in, you forget all about those things just for a moment. And I just want to be a part of that. A part of making people, for a minute, just forget about what their troubles are and just be transported into another place. Be it fantastical, be it I love rom-com, y'all. I love it. Just make it, because it just makes you feel so good.
Well, I was going to say one more thing about Guardians of the Galaxy and you. I see that for you, because I'm going to be frank, Marvel needs some help right now. Okay? And you are the solution, okay? You understand?
I'm just putting it back out there. I am the solution.
Yep.
And to add to that, it seems like there is this kind of through line of that everything is, working towards a place that do you see that?
Definitely. Like our lives are set up for our success if we just take the time and look back and recognize and see that. I was a waitress, right? I was a waitress in Last Days of Tyler McRae. I worked for my dad during the summers. I didn't want to work for him during the summers, but look at when I walked on set and I saw the set of Dope Sick, I was like, wow, this looks like my dad's office. Our lives are setting us up. We are being set up. If we just open our eyes and see it, we're all being set up for success. I mean, that's just what I feel. What else? I played a mom at Players. I'm a mom, who didn't understand some things that her daughter was going through when she was in school, which is the premise of that whole thing. I think we're all being set up. We're all being set up. There was a line from the documentary theater piece that I did, and it said, the line that just stuck with me out of all the stuff we said was leap, God's the net. That was just a line that stuck with me. Leap, God's the net. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to take the leap. And my thing was, before I'm 50, I'm going to do it. Do you know that I turned in my resignation. I said I wasn't coming back. And then the shutdown happened.
Mm.
I turned in my resignation. I think it was in April, January, February, March. No, it was it was before the year changed. So like December, January. Yeah. And then in March, shutdown. I was like, oh my gosh, what is going on? But it was still a setup because when the shutdown happened, it allowed me to be able to take classes in LA that I wouldn't have been able to take because everybody went to Zoom. So I was taking classes with some of the biggest, coaches that I would never have access to. And I just started getting in class, taking class. And then I booked the first thing I booked was Swagger, the co-star in Swagger. And it's just, that's why I say, I just feel like everything is a setup for our success if we just pay attention. I mean, who in the world would have thought a pandemic was going to shut everything down, but then it leveled out everything in the playing field for actors? Because now everything is self-tape. I don't have to fly to LA to go in for an audition. I'm doing self-tapes.
It seems like it's almost like what you're saying, that the universe is giving us these chances to be prepared for what it has in store for us. And if we embrace it, when it happens, we're ready to go. If we don't, then we miss those chances, like you were saying, when you were working 3 jobs and a door opened for someone to say, hey, you're hungry? Come on and eat.
Yeah.
And you just humbled yourself and said, sure, I'm hungry. I'm going to go there and eat.
And the thing is, like, you can look back and, let's say something awesome, wonderful happens in your life. And then you look back at some experiences you had, realize that this door had opened before. You just weren't ready to walk through it because you didn't open yourself up to it. But if you think back, you can see, oh, wow. Well, that thing happened but this was the right time because it's happening again. So this is the right time.
And in thinking about that, with the universe sending you all these signals, these signs, right? The big question that people who are in your position, or the big statement, is that, oh man, it's too late. That's like one of the main question that people, or the statement that people say to themselves. What a previous guest called stinking thinking, right?
Like you keep mentioning your 50th birthday, right? Like especially at milestone birthdays, that gets us those gears going. I hear where you're going, JP.
Yeah. So was that ever a struggle for you in telling yourself that, or asking, is it too late?
Yeah, that was part of that negative self-talk that I told myself, that I'm too old for this. That's why I'm not booking, because I'm too old. I'm too, it's too late for me. And like I said, when I did that, mindset work, that changed everything for me. And you know what really nailed it home for me? Y'all, on my 50th birthday, I was on set in LA.
What?
I was on set filming in LA on my 50th birthday. They started the scene, and all of the cast and crew came over and sang happy birthday.
Wow. That's dope. That's dope.
That was, and in that moment, I was like, it's like you realize, okay, yeah. I'm glad that I decided to do the work, because you have to make the decision to do the work. I'm glad that I did that mindset work. I'm glad that I changed the way that I was thinking about myself, changed those lies because we all tell ourselves lies all the time. It's not true. Stop telling yourself lies. It's not, if there's any negative self-talk, I can't do this, I'm too old to do this, it's not going to work for me, I can't branch out. Stop lying. Stop telling. If you hear those thoughts, then you need to work on your mindset, because once you start telling yourself more truths about you, about how wonderful you are, about how unique you are, about how loved you are, like people love you and you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? If you stop telling yourself these negatives and these lies and start telling yourself the truth and really getting in touch with who you are and knowing that you are enough, and it is who you are that somebody else needs, the world will open up for you.
You said you have to do the work.
Yes.
How do we know the work that each of us have to do? And how did you discover yours?
I think it like I said, and this is just me, I think that it's like always right in front of us. And sometimes we reject it because we're not ready to hear it. And for me, just being online, YouTube University, and seeing this woman who was so happy, I was like, let me find out a little bit more about her. She was the conduit for me. But it's something that's right in front of you. And I know it because, like, I have an actor friend who's like the most negative person in the world. And I tried to connect her with my mindset person. It didn't work for her because that's not what's for her. I don't know what that thing is for her, but it's right in front of her. Whatever it is, it's right in front of her. If she would just open herself up to see it. But what works for me may not work for the next person. But if you just, I feel like it's almost innate within us. Like you'll recognize what that thing is that you need. If you just take some time and just get in touch with yourself and recognize that there's a negative, that you're in a negative space. You got to recognize it. Some people reject that. I'm not negative, I'm fine. But once you you recognize, because I was there, and I know this because I was there. Like sometimes as actors or just as people, we see people doing stuff and you're like, man, why? I don't know why I can't do that. She did it. I can do it. Or she got that job. I don't know why she got that job, because I can do that job. Well then, but being able to recognize, okay, she got that job and I didn't get that job. Why didn't I get that job? What's going on with me? And because you have to celebrate other people to bring goodness to yourself.
Ivy heard that. She came back like,
and that's a lesson I had to learn, too. You really do have to truly celebrate. When you celebrate other people and the goodness that's happening with them, it begins to happen for you as well. You got to wish well for people. I just truly believe that, because I did that too. Like, oh, she got that role. I could have done that role. No, I celebrate you, girl. You did that role, because there's more out there. There's a seat at all these tables. There's a huge table. There's a seat for everybody. We just have to recognize it. I hope I'm not sweating. Y'all saw that. You just have to recognize it.
And to those who are in the creative field, who may not be having any kind of success, who maybe even be older than 50, would that be the same advice that you would give? And how do you apply? How can they apply that to their growth and to not giving up?
Number one is just keep going. Keep going. Because if I'm talking about acting specifically, like some people, they go to audition and they might book a series regular. Okay, that's not your path. Don't even think about that. That has nothing to do with you, because we all have our own journey that we have to take. Number one, keep going. Keep going, because if you stop, you might stop right on the cusp of when you were about to hit. You know what I'm saying? So don't stop. Like, I talk to actors all the time, and I'm like, y'all just don't stop. Keep going to class. Stay in class. Keep being creative in your own right. Create your own stuff. Y'all, I bought a camera, I wrote a film, and I filmed it. It's on YouTube too. Was it wonderful? No. Did you hear the camera going? You did, because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I did it. Not only did I film that myself with my camera, years later, I had a real camera person film it and redo it. So create your own stuff, and know that we all have a story to tell. We all have stories to tell. Find a part of your story you're comfortable with telling and tell it. Create your own, because there's YouTube, there's Vimeo, there's Tubi. You can do them and put it on Tubi. I'm sorry, Tubi. Create your own content, put it out there.
Arischa, before we send you off to your tour that you're going to next, I have a list of nuggets that you left us. The coaching, fill your own cup, saying no to the stories we tell ourselves, right? And your uniqueness will lead to your greatness. Take the leap. I mean, all of these messages you've left with us and with our listeners. First of all, thank you a ton. You have been an immense source of joy and inspiration. And I'm personally super excited to meet you. So, hey. But if you could leave one last nugget, or maybe your favorite nugget for our listeners, for our audience, what would that be from you?
My favorite thing to say to anybody is that you are enough. You are enough. So you had to get to the place where you really believe it, because it's already true.
Absolutely. Thank you.